Story title: Nyota, the warrior princess of the Underworld. In the heart of a lush, green kingdom known as Nyota, Queen Amora sat alone in her chamber, the weight of 20 childless years pressing heavily on her shoulders. Her husband, King Mwamba, had other wives, each of whom had blessed him with children, but none were hers. The whispers and mocking glances from the other wives grew louder with each passing day, and Amora's heart ached with sorrow and desperation. One moonless night, unable to bear the pain any longer, Queen Amora slipped out of the palace and made her way to the edge of the kingdom. There, hidden deep within the forest, was the secret coven of the 7 witches. The coven was feared and respected by all, for they were said to possess powers beyond the mortal world. With trembling hands and a heart full of hope, the queen entered the witches' circle. The witches, their eyes glowing in the darkness, listened as Queen Amora poured out her heart. "Please, grant me a child," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I have waited for so long, and I am mocked by those who bear what I cannot. I need a child who will be strong and powerful, someone who will make this kingdom proud." The eldest witch stepped forward, her voice echoing like the wind through the trees. "You shall have your child, but know this, Queen Amora, the child you seek will not be of ordinary blood. She will be blessed by the spirits of the underworld, a warrior unmatched, but her life will be one of great trials and battles. Do you accept this fate?" Without hesitation, Queen Amora nodded. "Yes, I accept. Give me my child." The witches formed a circle around Amora, chanting ancient words as the night sky crackled with energy. A gust of wind enveloped the queen, and she felt a surge of power flow through her. When the wind died down, the witches were gone, and Amora knew that her wish had been granted. Months later, the kingdom of Nyota rejoiced as Queen Amora gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The child was named Nyota, meaning star, for her eyes shone with an otherworldly light from the moment she was born. King Mwamba, who had longed for a child from his beloved queen, was overjoyed, but he also noticed something unusual about his daughter. Even as an infant, Nyota possessed a strength that was far beyond her years. As she grew, it became clear that she was no ordinary child. At the age of 5, she could lift objects that even grown men struggled with. By the time she was 8, she was defeating boys twice her age in wrestling matches. King Mwamba, recognizing her potential, arranged for the palace general, a seasoned warrior named General Keto, to train her in the art of combat. Nyota thrived under General Keto's tutelage. She mastered the spear, the sword, and the bow with ease, her movements swift and precise. Her strength was unmatched, and her determination was unyielding. Though she was still a child, she began to spar with the palace guards, and more often than not, she emerged victorious. One day, as Nyota trained in the palace courtyard, a group of adult warriors gathered to watch. They chuckled at the sight of a young girl taking on grown men, but their laughter soon turned to gasps of awe as Nyota deftly disarmed her opponents, one by one. By the time she was finished, all the men lay on the ground, breathless and defeated. "Who is this child?" one of the warriors whispered in amazement. "She is no mere child," General Keto replied, a proud smile on his face. "She is Princess Nyota, the future of this kingdom." As Nyota grew into a young woman, her fame as a warrior spread far and wide. She led the kingdom's army into battle, her presence alone enough to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. But what the world did not know was that Nyota was not alone in her battles. From the moment of her birth, she had been guided and protected by a powerful spirit from the underworld, a spirit that had been summoned by the witches on the night of her conception. This spirit, known as Uzima, appeared to Nyota in her dreams, teaching her strategies and techniques that no mortal had ever seen. In times of great danger, Uzima would take over Nyota's body, granting her strength and agility beyond that of any human. It was said that when Nyota fought, she moved with the speed of a lioness and the precision of an eagle, her eyes glowing with the light of the underworld. One fateful day, the kingdom of Noto faced an invasion from a powerful neighboring empire. The enemy forces were vast, and their warriors were ruthless. But Nyota, now the commander of the Noto army, was undeterred. As she prepared for battle, she knelt before the altar in the palace temple and called upon Uzuma for guidance. "Spirit of the underworld, I seek your strength once more," Nyota whispered, her voice steady. "Grant me the power to protect my people and lead them to victory." Uzuma's voice echoed in her mind, calm and reassuring. "You have been chosen, Nyota. The blood of the warrior flows through your veins. Rise, and let the enemies of Noto know the wrath of the underworld." As the two armies clashed on the battlefield, Nyota led her soldiers with unmatched ferocity. She fought at the front lines, her sword cutting through the enemy ranks like a hot knife through butter. The spirit of Uzuma surged through her, making her nearly invincible. The enemy soldiers, who had once been so confident in their victory, now trembled in fear as they faced the wrath of the warrior princess. Hours passed, and the tide of battle turned in favor of Noto. With Nyota at the helm, the enemy was driven back, their forces shattered and scattered. When the dust finally settled, the battlefield was silent, save for the cheers of the victorious Noto warriors. Nyota stood tall, her armor stained with the blood of her enemies, her eyes still glowing with the light of the underworld. As she returned to the palace, the people of Noto hailed her as their savior, their warrior princess. But Nyota knew that her journey was far from over. She had been born with a purpose, and as long as her kingdom needed her, she would continue to fight, guided by the spirit of the underworld. With her beauty and fame, Nyota attracted suitors from far and wide. Princes from neighboring kingdoms came to ask for her hand in marriage, and her parents were overjoyed at the prospect of their daughter finding love and securing alliances. However, every time Nyota considered marriage, the spirit of Uzuma intervened, filling her with dread and unease. Unable to understand the reason for this, Queen Amora and Nyota returned to the coven of the 7 witches, hoping for answers. The witches revealed that this was the price of Nyota's power. She was married to the spirit of the underworld and could never wed a mortal. The news devastated Nyota, who longed for a life of her own, free from the spirit's control. Determined to reclaim her life, Nyota decided to confront the spirit of Uzuma. One night, she summoned the spirit, demanding to be released from their bond. But Uzuma refused, reminding Nyota of the power and victories she owed to the spirit. Frustrated and heartbroken, Nyota returned to the witches' coven, pleading for a way to break the bond. The witches told her that the only way to gain true freedom was to challenge the spirit in combat. She would need to summon Uzuma in its true form and defeat it to break the curse. However, they warned her that if she loses to Uzuma, the spirit would take her life as its trophy. Nyota agreed, determined to regain control of her destiny. On the night of the full moon, Nyota prepared for the greatest battle of her life. She called upon Uzuma, and the spirit appeared before her in its true form, a towering, shadowy figure with eyes like burning coals. The combat was fierce and relentless. Uzuma was swift and powerful, and even Nyota, with all her skill, struggled to keep up. But Nyota had a plan. She feigned weakness, allowing Uzuma to think it had the upper hand. As the spirit lunged for the final blow, Nyota rode aside and used her spear to trap Uzuma in a circle of enchanted stones she had prepared earlier. The spirit roared in anger, but it was bound by the circle. Nyota approached, her voice steady as she demanded, "Release me, Uzuma, and free me from this bond." Uzuma, seeing it had been outwitted, had no choice. "You have won, Nyota," the spirit said, its voice a low rumble. "You are free, but know this, you will no longer possess the power I gave you. You will be mortal, like the others." Nyota accepted, knowing that true freedom was worth any price. With a final burst of light, Uzuma vanished, leaving Nyota standing alone in the circle. Nyota returned to Noto, no longer the unstoppable warrior she once was, but now free to live her life on her own terms. Though she no longer possessed supernatural powers, her skill and bravery were still unmatched, and she continued to protect her kingdom as a mortal warrior. Suitors still came, but this time, Nyota was free to choose her path. She found joy in the simplicity of life and the freedom to love and be loved. Though she had lost her otherworldly strength, she had gained something far more precious: control over her own destiny. And so, Nyota, the once unstoppable warrior princess, became a legend not only for her victories in battle but for her courage in choosing her own path, even when it meant giving up everything she had known. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Folktales and Stories by Winifred. Bye.